Happy Friday, everybody. I hope you had a great week. How'd you do with that 5 full days of work? I have a new appreciation for the 4-day work week. Today is July 8, 2022, and this is your Friday planning video. I read a stat this week that I wanted to dig into a little bit with you. It does not necessarily apply to each of you, but it will open things up for the rest of this video discussion. Did you know that 51% of retirees said that Social Security is their primary income in retirement? And 40% of retirees said that outliving their income was a top stressor for them. Now, there was no source for these statistics, so let's just use them as an example. Even if they're not 100% accurate, they're probably not too far off. I'll get back to that in just a minute. I was further moved by a few conversations I had with some retirees and their concern about market moves. It reminded me of a story that I think I've told you before, but it warrants repeating. The exact date, not important, but suffice it to say it was somewhere between 1998 and 2010. Chances are it was during the dot-com bubble bursting. A client of ours called in and he told my father that he was so worried about the market falling and the losses that he was incurring. Sounds familiar? I've gotten a lot of those calls recently. This was unique, and the client was 88 years old, and he was a retiree. And as we discussed the issues going on in the markets, we visited his holdings and his retirement income. His holdings, 98% in bonds, and his income, almost all from Social Security and the bond coupon payments. The effect of the dot-com bubble bursting, or even the inflating of the market in the prior 10 years for that matter, zero. His worry was all about his income. But that income was planned for, established, and backed up with income from various sources over the years. None of them were tied to the volatility of the stock market. As I just told 2 clients this week, in many cases your income will not be affected by 1 penny to the negative by this recent market action. In fact, there are a lot of people that got a fat raise in Social Security due to the cost of living increase. Now, don't get me wrong, a 5.9% cost of living increase in Social Security benefits this year was not enough to offset 9% inflation, nor were most of you spending the full 9% more this year. And if you were, most of you still had cash flow positive in your overall budget. Now, I'm not suggesting that investments we have in the market are not relevant and not things to be talked about and concerned about. They are. But once again, I want to bring a lesson from Warren Buffett. Mr. Buffett, arguably one of the best investors in our times, compared stocks to hamburgers. And allow me to explain. He said, if you plan to eat hamburgers throughout your life and you're not a cattle producer, should you wish for higher or lower beef prices? The answer, of course, is that lower prices are better for consumers of hamburgers. That seems like an easy one, but now for the final exam. If you expect to be a net saver during the next 5 years, should you hope for higher or lower stock prices during that time? Hint, many people get this one wrong, and many times that's because many people think that stocks only go up, a myth that the past 6 months have come along to bust. Even though they're going to be net buyers for stocks and for many years to come, they're so excited when prices rise and depressed when they fall. So to get back to our example, they get excited when the price of hamburgers go up, even though they'll soon be headed back to Ken's Diner here in Chicago and pay more for that next stock and that next hamburger. Rising prices are good for those who are already invested. And even then, even if they're going to sell, only if they're going to sell in the near future. They're not good for those who are about to invest. Are you running away from that sales section in the stores that you visit? I don't think so. So as Warren Buffett suggests, when you read investors lose as the market falls in the news, edit that in your mind. It could mean disinvestors lose as market falls, but not investors. Investors gain. Let me wrap this up with this. As humans who like to watch our net worth rise on a daily basis, simply because we can turn on the TV or check the internet for our up-to-the-second report on how we're doing, we fall into the trap that Warren Buffett explains. Yes, I always want to report that your accounts are going up on a daily basis, and I know that would make many of you happy, but I also know that many of you, actually many of you, are with me and with Warren Buffett in that when markets do go down, yes, there's a large part of me that hates it. There's often a larger part that works to do, as we've discussed over the past few months in these videos and during our meetings. Break out the shopping list, harvest tax losses, consider Roth conversions, also reevaluate your holdings and your risk levels, rebalance your portfolios, and keep planning. Do we need to take action? Down markets don't change the needs to plan. We'll keep having the conversations about setting up your own permanent income plan, as we started today's video talking about. We'll keep talking about long-term care planning Is now the time that we can discuss your will and estate plan with your attorney? What about talk to your accountant about the tax plan for the rest of 2022? Please, let's keep in touch. Let's make the second half of the year an even better year for communication and discussion on these and other planning items. Come back on Mondays for market updates and Fridays for planning ideas. Until next week, have a great weekend.